So today we'll be continuing to take a look at a scenario where civilization starts over. We are now in episode 28 of the series, and in the last episode we had some pretty interesting stuff happen, like for example a war over here in the Balkans in which Teria expanded very heavily in this region. Also we saw the entire Asian continent getting split, and with this the entire globe being filled in. And also with this we saw some pretty wealthy amount of colonies being formed, like over here in Myanmar and in China. And also we had a war over here with Persdia. And at the end of the last episode we had over here Cyberia annex a country over in here, right on the border of Teria, which will cause a lot of tension. So with this, we'll get straight into this video. Okay, so as I just said at the end of the last episode, Siberia took this land over in here, and this kind of puts Teria into panic mode because now one of their biggest enemies is right on their border, and Siberia will kind of get the hang of this, so they will not stop expanding. And now we will see that the Siberian Union will start to invade over here in this Pakistani country, and this Pakistani country is unfortunately pretty weak. They have expanded a few episodes ago, but it's far from ideal, as they will still get heavily invaded by Siberia, which is a way stronger country. It's actually a top 5 country in the world, and speaking about that, we should probably do a power rankings a bit later on in the video, but so far we'll just have the Siberian Union go over in here into kind of the lesser populated parts and start to cram these guys all the way to their capital, take the said capital, and then just force them into surrender. And it feels good, so the Siberian Union will decide to go for yet another target, this being this purplish country over in here, which actually fought Teria in the Terian coalition. And you know, the Siberian Union did support these guys during the Terran coalition, but when colonialism happens, you don't really care about other countries, even if you supported them in the past. So for this region, we'll just see that the Siberian Union will go over in here, start to take a lot of territory from these guys while they have no hopes to survive, and after this they'll just get cramped all the way up to here. Their capital will fall over to them, and we'll just see them also capitulating. And in the peace treaty, we just see that the Siberian Union will fully annex both of these countries, and now their small colony over in here in the Persian regions, now it's no longer small and it's actually a very big colony. Not necessarily the biggest, because there's colonies, for example, their own Mexican colony over in here, or their Landia's Brazilian colony, but this is definitely a colony that is growing a lot. And with the recent expansion of the Siberian Union over in here in the Pakistani Persian regions, Persdia will see this and they'll kind of get a bit freaked out, and of course they don't want to lose their supremacy over in this region and maybe even worse, become a colony of the Siberian Union. So they'll decide to retaliate, and with this they will invade this Red Indian country, which was actually part of them a very long time ago. But now on this day they decide that one, they want to reclaim this, and two, they don't want to kind of lose their gasp over this region. So they will take this part out and split the Indian country into two parts. The northern part will just easily surrender, and over here in the Gujarat Peninsula we'll just see that the Persian forces will go over in here and take their capital. And in a similar manner, we'll just see that the Red Indian country will get fully annexed by Persdia in a very short and very quick peace treaty. And with this, Persdia is actually getting pretty big and pretty strong. Remember, like 10 episodes ago, they were a pretty small country over in here in the south tip of India. And over the last couple of episodes, thanks to the international order and also a lot of retaliation and militarization, they've managed to form a pretty impressive empire over in here. But in case of a war with the Triangle Alliance, they might be in a bit of trouble. One, because of the colony that Siberia has over in here, and two, because of the colony that their Landia has over in here. So because of this, Persdia is kind of forced to militarize. But now going over here in North America to Bougainville, being this kind of New England country, we'll have a pretty nice event happening over in here, and this is a quick union happening, as we'll see this pink country going ahead and joining Bougainville. Now the reason for this union is pretty simple. Simply, Bougainville is way more wealthy and way more powerful. And this pink country decided that they also want to join them and also get that peace and prosperity that this country has. Now coming back over here to Asia, this time to Central Asia, we'll see a war happening over in here as this blue country is pretty weak and their two neighbors over in here, this kind of blackish country and this orangish country will decide to invade them as again these guys are pretty weak and these countries see the potential in invading them, so we'll see both of them starting to do their moves. First of all, this country will take their capital, while the other one will kind of go a bit more through the suburbs of their country, and after a tad bit more fighting we'll just see these guys getting decimated. And this peace treaty will be a pretty simple one in which the blue country ceases to exist. First of all, we'll see that the orange country will take this part of their territory, and for this grayish black country they will take these territories out of their country, including their capital area, and with this we have one less country on the map. Now going over here to Siberia, to some of the most irrelevant countries on this map, we'll see yet another war break out. Previously there was a war over in here between these two countries, but now there will be a second one, and this will be between these two countries over in here, the red and lime ones. And this war will start with an invasion from the red country into the lime country. Their goal is kind of to connect up here to the north with this part of the ocean. So they will go straight into here and immediately profit of the fact that their capital is right on their border, and they will take it and from here proceed to push up here more in the north, and the fighting is pretty harsh, but neither of these countries are necessarily strong. Now the red one is stronger, so because of this they'll take big advantage of the lime team and they'll manage to push up here in the north, and after a bit more fighting we'll just see that this entire area will fall off, and they will also go ahead and take this island. And when they take this, they will turn their guns over here to the west and start to push more through the lime country until eventually we'll just see the lime country surrendering over to the red one. And this peace treaty, although a simple one, will be a pretty devastating one for the lime country, as over in here we'll see that the red country will not only take this island up here in the north, but also one of the two provinces of the lime country, being their capital province, and now these guys are left without their capital and they'll have to move it. And you know, there are not many major cities in this country. In fact, there's very few major cities, and out of the few that they have, they will put their new capital over in here, and now it's no longer on the border of the red country, it's on the border of the skin country, so barely better at all. And with this we kind of have something happening over here in this region, so I guess that's nice for sure. But now, as I said previously at the beginning of this video, we'll do a quick power ranking. Alright, so these are the power rankings and now we are gonna go very quickly over them because they are pretty simple. First of all, number 1 remains unchanged from the last time, Teria being number 1. They've been number 1 for already over 1,000 years, ever since the Merodian Empire collapsed, and they've expanded a lot through Arabia and North Africa. At number 2 we have the Netherlandian Empire, of course over here the Dutch-German Empire, which controls a very huge amount of Europe, North America, and even has huge territories and colonies in Brazil, in Africa, and even has a few over here in Asia. Third, we have the Siberian Union, again a similar story as Netherlandia. They have over here their core land in Europe, which is pretty valuable, and then they have huge colonies over here. We have them over here in Mexico. They have over here a colony in Chile in South America. They have South Africa, and 2 colonies in Asia. They have quite a few colonies, making them strong. At number 4 we have the Alasabi Pirates. This is also pretty self-explanatory. They are a huge maritime power, and like out of all of the countries on the map, they have by far the best navy. They have even a better one than all of the colonialists and Teria. Their navy is kind of their main highlight. This is like kind of the primary thing that makes them strong. And even besides this, they are a very strong country considering their huge land size and military. At 5th we have another colonialist being Jetia. And similar to the last two, they are a colonialist over in here, kind of like the land in the Siberian Union. They have colonies over in here in North America, in Canada, in South America over here in Argentina and Uruguay. Again, we have them having two colonies over in here in Africa with this Mauritanian colony and this Mozambique one. And then we have them over in here, a colony in Asia, being over here in South China, being very valuable. At 6 we have Red Donna, and this is the Dakotan Empire over in here. Not really a lot to explain other than the fact that they are a very old and historical country, and because of this and also the huge amount of land they control, they are a very strong country. At 7 we have the Ivorian Empire, again pretty self-explanatory. They've primarily became strong in the last couple of episodes ever since the Ivorian Empire formed, and with huge militarization and conquests they've managed to take a lot of land, also making them a very strong country over in here, even challenging Teria over in here. At 8 we have Kuhariska. This is the Korean Empire, and also they are a very strong country over in here in East Asia. They are aligned with the International Order and the Trapezoid Alliance, and because of this and also their good relations with the Al-Asabi pirates, they were allowed in the last episode in the partition of Asia to take a lot of land, and also similar to Ivoria with militarization, they've taken the two Japanese countries over in here, also making them pretty big and also being one of the primary reasons why they are strong right now. At 9 we have their biggest rival being Alcaracina, being the blue Chinese country over in here. There's a very small difference between these two countries, and like they are both in a similar amount of power, and also they kind of grew together in the same region. So it's not that much of a difference between them, other than the fact that Alcaracina is not allied with the International Order, and in fact they are more so allied with the colonialists. And finally at number 10 we have Hibernia over in here, going to South America. This isn't that much of a reason for them to be strong, besides the fact that they control a lot of land, and they kind of needed to militarize considering the circumstances that they are in, with a lot of colonialists on their borders. Now going over here to Oceania, we'll have a quick war happening, and this is a war between these red and blue countries. The reason for this war is kind of useless, they kind of just want to take land from each other. But it's actually the red Australians that start the invasion over here into the blue Australians, and they are immediately gonna start to heavily push through the territory of the blue country, and the blue country at first is very overwhelmed by these attacks. They try to repel them, they kind of fail, and they kind of go over here through these regions and start to heavily push through these territories, seeming like the blue Australians are gonna collapse and become a part of this country. But after this we'll have the blue Australians kind of make a bit of a resurgence and start to defeat the red Australians, having a tad bit of success over in here, and then a lot more success over here in the east, and they will manage to take this entire battalion out. And now the blue Australians will go over here to the Al-Asabi pirates and kind of ask them to give them a bit of a helping hand in defeating the red Australians. And now both of these countries are in the International Order, so they are both allies of the Al-Asabi pirates, but the blue Australians are a tad bit of a better and bigger ally of the Al-Asabi pirates, so they will agree to give supplies over to the blue Australians. And with this we see that the blue Australians will make a massive resurgence against the red Australians, and with this they will manage to fully kick out the red Australians out of their country, and now the blue Australians will start to push themselves into the red Australians, of course with the help of the Al-Asabi pirates, which are now sending volunteer troops over into their territory. And now going over here to the west, we'll see that the blue Australians will make an effort over here to capture the capital of Red Australia, which they managed to do. And now they'll kind of wrap around the coast over in here of Red Australia and kind of taking the remaining major cities out of their country. And now making it even worse for these guys, we'll just straight up see that this Limish country over in here will also go over in here and just straight up take these territories for themselves, not even like invading it. They just straight up occupy it. And now over in here, we'll just see that the Blue Australians will continue their push against the Red Australians. The Red Australians are almost fully done, as now a huge surrender will happen over here in the north, followed shortly by their full surrender over here in the south. And with this, we see that the Blue Australians have won this war, again, primarily with the help of the Alasabi pirates. So now let's see this peace treaty against the Red Australians. And this is the peace treaty, and it's a pretty simple one, as we see primarily all of the territory going over to the Blue Australians. They kind of did most of the work, if we don't include the Alasabi pirates. And for the Lime country over in here, they will take one province, kind of the province that they occupied during the war. And with this, we see that we have one less country in Oceania, and we have two countries getting significantly bigger. Now going over here to the Siberian Union, once again over here in their Mexican colony, they will yet again expand. They've actually been expanding quite a lot recently, but now they will be declaring war on this grey Mexican country. And I mean, this will be quite a simple and easy war, as we'll just see the Siberian Union going over in here through the territory of this Mexican country, and they'll continue to push over in here through their territory and kind of go ahead and take kind of these less valuable parts of their territory and kind of push this country around the coast. And this country will not really be able to do anything against the Siberian Union, as the Siberian Union is just infinitely stronger compared to them, and with this they'll just get cramped over here to their capital, where they finally fall. But now going over here into Europe, because we'll have something happening. Recently we saw Teria invading this Croatian country over in here and destroyed them. And now it feels good, so they'll decide to expand once again, this time going for the Farmers Union. The Farmers Union and Hibernia were the two countries on this map that used to have the neutralist ideology, meaning that they were both very anti-war and very anti-conflict, and because of this, and because of the fact that the Farmers Union was never bothered by a country like Derlandia and forced into a whole nother continent, and because of this, the Farmers Union didn't change from the neutralist ideology. Hibernia did change, and now they are just a simple democracy. But the Farmers Union remained a neutralist country, meaning that they were very anti-war and very anti-conflict, as I just said. And this means that in a very long time they have not fought any wars or taken any land. But today this is gonna change, as now we see the Farmers Union getting invaded by Teria. Now Teria is also a democracy, but definitely in the last couple of episodes they've been way more expansionist than usual. And because of this, we'll now see Teria going over in here and taking the capital of the Farmers Union. And when an outside country will see the situation that the Farmers Union is in, they will also decide to invade. This outside country is gonna be Danesia. Danesia is this cyan country over here in Crimea, and in a similar manner as the Farmers Union, they have not taken any land or fought any wars in a very long while. And now Danesia, in a similar manner as the Farmers Union, they have not annexed any land or fought any wars in a very long while. Now this is not because Danesia would be neutralist or something, because they are not a neutralist country. They are just a dictatorship, but they haven't taken any land or fought any wars because, I mean, they don't really have anywhere to take land or fight wars because they border Ivoria and Teria. So yeah, good luck fighting and winning for that. But ultimately, now that they see the Farmers Union collapsing, they will use this opportunity to finally fight a war and expand over into here. And now the Farmers Union will just fully collapse, as now Teria will also go over in here and take the remaining of their coast. And with this, we'll just see the Farmers Union surrendering over to Teria. And this peace treaty is gonna be a pretty sad one, as one of the oldest countries in the world will cease to exist, as the Farmers Union will get fully partitioned. First of all, Danesia, which is gonna be the one to take the less amount of land, but still they'll take a pretty generous amount of land over in here around Bessarabia and Transnistria. And for the rest of the Farmers Union over here to Teria, they'll just end up going ahead and fully annexing the rest of the Farmers Union. And once again, Teria had expanded pretty massively over here in the Balkans, as now they take almost the entire peninsula, and with this Teria gets once again even stronger and even bigger, as now they go ahead and annex a ton of land over in here from the Farmers Union, and with this Teria had fully annexed the entire Balkan Peninsula, and Teria is definitely getting close to their peak. But that's gonna do it for today's video on what if civilization started over. I really hope you guys liked it. This was kind of a messy recording, but I hope that doesn't really bother you all too much, and I really hope to see you all in the next video. Goodbye.